I would like to welcome our fourth team, and this team has been using machine learning to improve the flow of correspondence across HMRC. A very warm welcome to our final team.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eric and I work for HMRC. My idea for the data challenge is all about digital mail service, or DMS. So what's the problem? We receive millions of letters each year, but their journey to the correct team is not straightforward. 41% of letters get moved from one team to another before they reach the right destination. Redirecting the post wastes time and money for HMRC and creates long delays for our customers. So the solution, we already have a massive archive of old letters which did successfully reach the right teams. This database represents the collective knowledge of all HMRC employees. And we can tap into this knowledge through machine learning and train a computer model so we can get letters to the right place first time. We will use the £50,000 prize to fund a proof of concept. This money will cover computing costs and data scientists. We're confident we can demonstrate that the idea works and we can greatly reduce waiting times and save money too. To make this happen, I've gathered a team from various departments of the civil service. Together, we're going to tackle the problem of misdirected post. So we had some questions. We wondered, how much post is misdirected? How much time is this wasting? And how does it affect our customers? We can show you an example of how things can go wrong and how we can put it right.
It's been 3 months since Melanie from Newcastle sent an error correction notice to HMRC, but she hasn't received her refund yet. Melanie's letter, one of the 9 million pieces of post addressed to HMRC, arrives at the central mail hub. Melanie's envelope is opened and inside is her handwritten letter along with a form she has filled out to request her refund. Because it is handwritten and has a form attached to it, Melanie's letter doesn't scan very well, and the automated system sends it to the wrong team. This happens with about 40% of all letters sent to HMRC, and there are more than 900 teams in the organisation, so letters can be miscategorised repeatedly. Each extra step in the journey can take up to 20 days. Meanwhile, back at home, Melanie is wondering what's happening with her refund. She is rightly frustrated, and she's not alone. Delays in processing are a leading complaint we hear from HMRC clients like her. In the last 9 months, there have been over 50,000 complaints about post requiring a response. It takes weeks for the letter to finally reach the correct team, which processes the claim and sends out the refund check. But for Melanie, that was far too long to wait. Too many of HMRC's customers have been kept waiting. It's time to make a change. We propose using artificial intelligence and machine learning to literally learn from our mistakes. Our archive includes more than 60 million letters. We know where they went and we know where they should have arrived. This makes the archive a perfect database on which to train an algorithm and ensure that the next time Melanie sends a letter to HMRC, it will quickly and reliably reach the correct team, saving countless wasted staff hours at HMRC and delivering a better service for our customers.
All right, so we can see that handwritten letters can be a problem, and 1 in 23 of our customers still writes to us with a pen. Other problems come from incorrect postcodes and multiple items in the same envelope. And it's not just the customers. At HMRC, we use keywords to sort the incoming post. but lots of different queues share the same keywords. All these reasons result in recategorizations, a lot of them. So in the last tax year, there were a staggering 4.7 million recategorizations. The vast majority of those were unnecessary extra steps. And the total customer waiting time was 213,000 years. No wonder they complain. On that bombshell, over to James, our technical architect.
Thank you. Let's take a look at DMS in a bit more detail. So this is the digital mail service. And these are the various teams in HMRC who use DMS to manage the work they do on a daily basis. Around 9 million items of mail are received every year. Each has to be opened, scanned, and then sent to the team's work queue. Around 2 million items of digital correspondence are also received every year. They are much easier to send to the correct team first time. There is widespread agreement that the future should involve less physical and more digital correspondence. But this is a long-term ambition and requires significant investment to achieve. We're focusing on what can be realistically done in the short to medium term. Developing machine learning alongside DMS is our approach. So how can machine learning be integrated with DMS? Well, HMRC already has an enterprise integration framework. This is used already by robotic process automation, or robotics, to process items in DMS queues. We can use this same integration framework to examine mail items. Initially, this would be completely passive, allowing us to gain confidence in the accuracy of category prediction. Then we can automatically move items from the wrong queue to the correct queue before they're picked up by a team. How will we implement machine learning? We've been speaking to lots of helpful colleagues across the civil service to make sure our solution is feasible and has a future beyond this competition. In particular, we've been working closely with HMRC's data science team. A machine learning model requires training data, and that data sits inside DMS. There isn't yet an established bulk data transfer process. So the data science and DMS teams have been working on a secure mechanism. Whilst waiting for this to be defined, the data science team have developed a really useful analysis tool to explore how mail gets recategorized. This can be done with metadata that's already available to them. This tool allows us to select what training data to export by looking for common recategorizations between queues. Now over to our data engineer, Mohit.
Thank you. While discussing our solution, we established that big data problems require cloud-based solutions. And when exploring this with our HMRC colleagues, we discovered that the data science team and DMS both use the same cloud-based infrastructure to build their solutions and to work on problems. This gives them access to very powerful mechanisms by which they can share data on a bulk scale necessary for building a machine learning model of this magnitude. In order to facilitate the discussions necessary for such work to happen, we held a workshop between these two teams where they were able to agree on several concrete mechanisms by which they could share data once the appropriate permissions have been achieved and the right steps have been undertaken. Moving on to our solution in specific, and with the AI model in particular here, this is the core of our solution. The idea behind this is that we're going to use a historical backlog of information, of correspondence, and where it's ended up, to try and predict where future correspondence should end up in a clear, achievable, and very precise manner. While exploring this solution with data science at HMRC, we found out that they've actually built something very similar. They've worked on correspondence from customs in the past and established where this correspondence should end up, in which queue it should go to, and as a result, they've been operating the solution effectively for over a year. So there's a significant amount of expertise already within HMRC. We'd like to focus our solution on the problem queues that matter the most first. Obviously, there's a whole host of queues to fix, but if we direct our efforts towards queues where we know there's a significant amount of incorrect mail, we stand a chance at focusing our efforts down to the places where the problem is most significant. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to Sam, our product manager.
Thank you very much, Mohit. So when it comes to producing a really effective performance framework, we had no idea what we were doing. But what we did have was the phone number of HMRC's lead performance manager, Nicola Bibby. So we requisitioned her into holding a workshop with us to help us produce our framework. We initially started by articulating the purpose and benefits of our project to reduce delays getting post to the right place, which would save time for colleagues, save money for the department, and improve service to customers. We mapped out our key user groups, which were people sending post to HMRC, teams that were expected to process that post when it arrived, and colleagues who were needlessly handling the post in the meantime. And we identified 3 universal needs that all of these groups shared, which was for the mail to reach the right place, for the content of the mail to remain secure, and to reach its destination quickly. We have a number of existing data channels that we can already use to tell how many queues mail passes through, how long reclassification takes, how long post takes to reach its final destination, and how HMRC performs against its response time goals. So, using data that's already available to us, we can create a comparison between the current process and our proposed AI solution. Success for our AI solution would see a drop in the number of queues that mail passes through, and from that we could infer that there were fewer eyes on the content that shouldn't see it, and we could look to see if we got quicker responses to customers. So the next step for us in terms of our performance dashboard is to speak to our data science colleagues who will provide the required dashboard to help us visualize that data, to help us track the performance. So I now hand over to Vera. She's our project leader. She's going to talk to you a bit about the ownership and implementation.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
I'm going to talk you now through the benefits and future of our solution. Dr. Laura Gilbert, Head of Data Science for 10 Downing Street, described this as a high-value problem and our solution as a no-brainer. With millions of letters, even a small improvement can have a big impact. We will have quantifiable savings and shorter waiting times every step of the way. Once we have proven that our model works, it will be easy to repeat in other government departments who are facing similar issues with unmanageable amounts of mail, such as the Department for Work and Pensions. We are delighted with some news which I will share with you very shortly. But first, an idea is nothing without commitment and without investment of people to make it happen. So, the news we've all been waiting for is that we are introducing to you Kay MacDonald, who we are delighted has agreed to act as our Senior Responsible Officer. Kay leads the Customer Service Group in the Operational Excellence Directorate, who own the current DMS contract. Kay has been instrumental in connecting us with other key stakeholders in HMRC, who will be crucial to the successful implementation of our proposed solution. In summary, there are clear opportunities for improvement in the digital mail service. There is a need and a desire to tap into the archive of unused letters to create an efficient system, save money, and reduce waiting times. We have brought together teams from across HMRC and wider government to produce a simple, practical, and unobtrusive solution. We have proven there is an appetite to bring this forward. Once implemented, the AI will be able to deal with higher volumes, faster, and more effectively than ever before. The AI will work tirelessly and effortlessly, and once trained, will make few, if any, mistakes. This will revolutionize the struggling digital mail service. It will save the civil service millions of pounds. It will stop massive delays facing HMRC teams, and most importantly, it will dramatically reduce waiting times for customers like Melanie. This could lay the foundations for homegrown machine learning capability in HMRC and beyond. Let's make this happen.
Thank you very much. We've got questions coming in already. I have to admit, I thought this was going to be like the driest kind of one. It absolutely wasn't. I just want to say, absolutely wasn't. And I loved your videos. I absolutely loved it. Iden, you wanted to come in.
Thanks, Siobhan. I didn't think it was going to be the driest one. Shamelessly biased towards HMRC, and I can see the benefits there. And well done for getting Kay on board. I think that will definitely kind of prove valuable in terms of the deliverability. So where my question is that a lot of this will, I guess, be dependent on the data quality you've got around the archiving. So all those, 60 million letters that you know where they went, the routes and all that. How worried or how confident are you in that data set?
A bit worried. I think it's fair to say that I think the greatest challenge we've seen is the ambiguity of the data. So at the moment, we can't reliably tell the difference between something that's been moved between queues because it was accidentally put in one, and it's been moved between queues because that was a deliberate decision for the business to do that. So we didn't mention it as part of the presentation, but there are a number of things we've discovered that we can feed back into HMRC that would help the upstream process, because ultimately we need to shift left and move improvements leftwards. So we do have some concerns, but at the same time, as long as we're able to show a better performance than how it currently works, then we can still get those benefits.
Would anybody like to add on to that? I believe we've identified a few queues that would prove to be low-hanging fruit and have fed that back to Kay already.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up to that question. So in the 60 million archive, you've got the record of where it was originally routed and its ultimate destination from which the answer came.
And every step along the way.
And every step along the way.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And there's a really strong correlation between the text of the letter and where it was finally processed.
Yeah. Okay.
No hit and miss, no guesswork. It just belongs there.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got Simon and then I've got Megan, if that's okay.
So you've got fantastically clear line of sight on what you want to do to fix the HMRC problem, which is absolutely superb to hear. So that would be really unfair and take you away from that. And you mentioned in passing a potential use case in DWP. Tell me how much you've been able to understand about equivalent challenges in other departments where you could take this to, bring that to life for me.
Thank you. We've had lots of conversations with colleagues across government. Can I pass this question over to James? Are you okay with that?
You can. We spoke to DWP, and they, as we explained our approach, they immediately said, yes, this is similar to what we have, but I think one of the main differences was they had more internal systems, they had less of the centralization that HMRC has in terms of a single solution. One of the things the two things we've struggled with are prior art in knowing how to do some of this and also accessing the data. And I think a key part of this is getting that prior art out there. So we touched on wanting to use open source as part of the solution, but that works both ways. Not only is it about it's part of the service standard, it's what the government tries to do, but by using open source, that makes it more transferable to other places. But also, we'd strongly encourage anyone implementing this at HMRC to be open about the implementation, blogging about it, putting their own code on platforms like GitHub. So by making it open, it makes it easier for other teams to adopt, because there's the people we know about, but there'll also be departments that we don't know about who'll hear about it through the data challenge.
Thank you. We've got lots of questions. So I've got Megan next, then Alison, then Alex.
Well, fantastic to see such a cross-functional team here today. And thank you very much for a very compelling case that you put forward. And I was particularly struck by the size of the prize in terms of inefficiency. So, wow. The question that I have is perhaps a bit of a challenging one, and it's about your sort of scope. So what I've heard is a tactical solution to the fact that almost 90% of mail comes through in physical mail. And I wonder, why did you decide to target that part of the solution than addressing at the root cause around all of this mail coming in every year?
It's a question I believe we were asked in the previous round as well. And it's important to realise that this move to digital takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And currently, as you can see, HMRC are drowning under this massive amount of mail that they're doing and are really struggling to keep on top of that in the first place. And so by identifying these easy wins and improving the digital space into the 21st century, we would then be able to free up resource of that staff time to focus on improving those digital steps. But as we were talking with Kay over the lunch break, that is already happening, but it's going to take time and a lot of effort. Would any of the team like to add to my answer on that?
I mean, hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, good.
Yeah, I would say that, in terms of speed as well, in terms of our solution, we're going through all the sort of internal data transfer mechanisms at the moment, and we are really like weeks away being able to actually use this data in a deployable machine learning model. So, we're talking about weeks in terms of how we can implement this and start working on this, as opposed to organization-wide digital transformation, which really does take years and a lot of effort.
Thank you. So we've got 4 minutes and did you want to come back, Mika?
Can I have a follow-up then? So that's fantastic to hear. And I suppose, what are you going to do to ensure that those feedback loops are being fed back to some of the service owners that are owning the products which are causing this sort of failure demand?
I mean, whether that's the benefit of having, an SRO representing the operational excellence in that part of the business and being involved and having that wider oversight of where all the teams sit and all the problems that the individual teams have. We've come up on this from a kind of a ground-up solution where we've had, Eric facing these problems on a day-to-day basis, but now we've got this kind of strategic help to assist us with this. And we've got like the technical support from the DMS team and the data science team that sits in CDIO within HMRC. So we feel like we've got a really good collaborative approach that we're taking on here.
Thank you.
So we've got 3 minutes and 3 questions. Alison.
All right. I wanted to ask a related question, so feel free to be brief in your answer. But one of the worst things one can do is digitize a poor process. This is something that's built over a long period of time. So sort of building on the answers you've given to Megan, what can you do to ensure business process re-engineering as part and parcel of this next stage of the project?
We take that one again. A part of this, we've identified lots of like service design areas where we think changes could be made. There are hundreds of queues in DMS system that have kind of accumulated over time for various different reasons. And as teams kind of change and stuff, and more queues get created. This is a good chance for us to really identify and analyze like why those queues are in the place. Where are the problems being caused? Where are the pain points in terms of, lots of mail is going to this particular queue and we need to figure out why. By sort of interacting with the business, we can figure out, okay, these are the problem queues. Let's do something about it, as well as continuing trying to sort of make the digital mail system really efficient.
Thank you. Alex.
Yeah, you've talked a lot about learning from each other in HMRC and DWP and 10DS and elsewhere in government. Have you looked into the private sector to see where else they've used tools, machine learning tools to deal with this fundamental problem of large volume correspondence direction? I've been thinking like insurance industry and places like that, they must have that.
Thank you. We were looking into different ways of solving the problem, looking at the private sector, so I might hand over to Mohit for that shortly. But just in terms of expanding our solution outside of government, we didn't do that purely because in government we face quite a unique problem around governance, around massive bodies working in silos. And so our main challenge moving to this final was connecting different teams within HMRC who'd been really trying to get a hold of each other already, but this just gave us the final push to be able to achieve that.
I'm happy to take on. Yeah. When we look, in the news today, ChatGPT as machine learning and natural language processing in action, what ChatGPT and the likes represent is a really advanced iterations of what sort of technical solutions we're presenting here. Arguably, ours is a lot less technically demanding than what we're seeing in the private sector, what's being pushed apart. But where we see the real challenges are by sort of comparing ourselves with the private sector is like making sure that protection of citizen personal data is really, really important, really key, and also doing things like making sure we have a really defined problem, really setting the scope and application, and making sure that everything we do is kind of ethical and secure.
I want to squeeze in, if that's all right.
Sure.
Time for our final question. So, Vicky, over to you.
If you are crowned the winners today, could you just bring to life for us how you'd use the investment and what the immediate next steps would be?
Absolutely. We mentioned a few of the ways in which we would use the money during the presentation and what specifically, but for us it's important maybe now to highlight the wider context. So Kay is working on telephonics currently because staff time is the biggest drain of money. The next biggest thing after that is letters. And so this project could happen in the future, but it would be years and years away. Whereas this money would allow us to bring that forward and allow us to bring that solution into the limelight alongside improvement in telephonics and make sure that customers are getting their HMRC mail responded to much, much faster now rather than in 5, 10, 15 years' time.
Thank you so much. We are now out of time. Again, another brilliant pitch, our fourth and final team of the day. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much.